You gotta get your act together.
You feeling good? Yes. You feeling me? Very good. All right, let's get it on. Yes.
Harder, stronger, harder, stronger, harder, stronger.
Hairy, sweaty, macho.
Real physical strength. He'll never stop.
Welcome to the Work in Progress podcast. I am Michael D. Catherwood, your host, your faithful host. I want to talk to you about something that I think is important if you're at all interested in health and fitness, and that is where to separate what pros do, what high-level people do, into what you do as a normal person with a job and a family, and you don't get a paycheck for your abs, stuff like that, okay? There is a lot of stuff, and it's what I base most everything I do. It's how I ended up doing this in the first place. There's a lot of stuff that comes from extreme high level. The people who do it the best, you can adopt it and bring it down towards you. There's a lot of that stuff when it comes to mechanical tension, when it comes to intensity versus volume. You can use the best of the best to really kind of create some type of framework for what you do as a normal man or a normal woman. There is some stuff that people get kind of brain farts about because, especially with social media, they'll hear a professional bodybuilder. A young man will hear a professional bodybuilder talk about certain things. A young woman will hear a professional bikini model or a fitness model or a fitness competitor talk about certain things that they do, that they adopt. And then they think, well, I have to do that. And the reality is that type of practice, that dietary technique, these are all reserved for incredibly limited amounts of people who have achieved through very impressive amounts of hard work, discipline, dedication for over a prolonged period of time. They've kind of gotten to a status where they have to engage in these rather fringe practices in order to further their physique, in order to pay the bills. And that doesn't necessarily apply to the everyday folk. Number one that I want to talk about, and I think it's very important, and this, I see it especially with young guys because you're motivated. You want to make that change. You want to look like an action star. And that is volume and frequency of training. The volume and the frequency of training that someone engages in who gets a paycheck for their physique does not at all apply to you, regular person, even if you're buff and lean. Okay? I always use this analogy, and it's fitting. I used to look at these articles talking about Kobe Bryant's training in the off season going into, the 2002, 2003 season. And it was unfreaking believable. It was unbelievable. The strength and conditioning, the footwork, the actual fundamental basketball practice, the finishing up when he's already tired with just practicing free throws. I mean, it was just nonstop, hours and hours and hours a day, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day. And it at least with Kobe, became pretty verifiable. A lot of people came in to speak about how this isn't just myth. He was training that way. If you were a regular guy and you never played competitive basketball, or let's say you played high school basketball, that was like your highest, and now you're 25 and you have a company pickup league that you're getting into, and some of the guys are good and everything, would you ever in a million years think that you're going to adopt this training program that Kobe Bryant was using in the offseason to prepare for your pickup league, regardless of how good the guys were? No one in their right mind would think that that's a good idea, because you're talking about a professional athlete who gets paid millions and millions and millions of dollars in order to perform at an incredibly high level, and he was capable of doing that, and he had nothing else really in his life besides dominating in basketball. And some of the effort that you would put in to this training program would not only be useless for you, it would be counterproductive, because you would just get so fatigued that you wouldn't even be able to get better at basketball, because you hardly be able to hold your arms up, let alone get good rotation on your jumper and stuff like that, and really be able to pivot and turn around. You understand what I'm saying? So when Christian Bumstead is talking about his training program going into the Mr. Olympia, you have to take into consideration that his body, in comparison to other Mr. Olympia competitors on stage, is what pays his bills. When he's not on stage, he is preparing specifically for that. His life is devoted to doing that. It's an incredibly different world, and he is under a incredibly different chemical profile than you are. The diet, the drugs, everything that's going into it, the night's sleep, the massages and naps and all of that it's all devoted just to his physique. So he's able to train a lot more frequently, not only with just overall amounts of training, but the amount of every muscle group that gets specifically trained and how frequently it gets trained during the week with how many sets. And think about all the musculature that a professional carries on their body. His and her body is carrying so much muscle that you almost have to engage in extraordinary types of training in order to stimulate that muscle. The contractions are so high, the weight, the amount, the frequency, the sets, the reps. It's not really applicable to even people who are using anabolic androgenic hormones, but are a normal person. I've always been very open that I'm on TRT. I haven't been on TRT as long as most people probably assume, because most people are super, super fucking lazy. But I'm 46. I've been on TRT since about a couple months into turning 44. I push it as far as I could without using any drugs, because I feel like that's the best way to go. Drugs are medicine, all drugs, whether it be aspirin or it be testosterone or it be cocaine or it be morphine, they're invented for a reason. They're medicine. And if you don't have an injury, you shouldn't be treating it. I wanted to wait till I had a injury, in that being that I got to an age and I had a lifestyle that was preventing me from developing enough testosterone to feel happy and perform well. So I started taking medicine. And that I'm openly, admittedly, I don't use any other compounds, not even peptides. I'm open to it. I've been working with First Optimal, and I probably will start taking some peptides, but I use testosterone, pharmaceutical grade cypionate. I use a very low dose. But my point in mentioning this is that even for a guy like me who's going into using testosterone with being in very good shape, being muscular, being lean mostly, and having a pretty high level of discipline to my training and my diet, I can't in a million years think that I'm going to engage in the same training or live the same lifestyle that a 30-year-old bodybuilder who is also on drugs. And my point in bringing this all up is that you are going to be told a lot of stuff by all the big timers, by people that you look at and you go like, his body's amazing, her body looks amazing. It doesn't apply to you, even if you're already in good shape. Okay, so just understand that there is a certain level that your body can tolerate. When it comes to fatigue management, that is one of the most overlooked things. And fatigue management is something that doesn't apply to you when you're looking at people who do it for a living. The next thing that a lot of people will see online or in chat rooms and things that a lot of professionals or a lot of people who are super high level do, and you should not do this under any circumstances, is unique, very fringe dietary techniques. Whether you're someone who's incredibly overweight and has never trained and wants to change your body, you want to make a big impact and you want to do it. Awesome, by the way. Or you're someone who, let's use me as an example. You're someone who's in very good shape to begin with. You're probably already leaner and more muscular than the average dude that's walking around, and you want to kind of step your game up. The reality is that your diet should be reasonably close all the time. You should be monitoring your overall intake, your caloric intake, okay, to achieve your goals. You should have a higher level of protein than, the average person. And besides that, there's not much else you need to be going. Things like carb cycling, things like extreme deprivation of carbohydrates going into a certain photo shoot, manipulation of sodium and water, okay? These are all things that aren't applicable at all, ever, really, ever, and shouldn't be applicable to you, the average guy, average gal who just wants to look awesome when they take their shirt off or put their bathing suit on at the beach. These are extreme fringe tactics. I have used some when I was in competitive bodybuilding. I'm not necessarily sure it was even valuable then. Because I was never someone who was aspiring to be a competitive physique athlete. I definitely have done some type of Not very radical ones, but I've done some water manipulation when I was making weight in BJJ and grappling competitions. Again, that was more just to step on a scale in a moment and make sure I was underneath a certain weight. But I didn't use any pharmaceutical diuretics. I was using things like uva ursi and different herbs and things like licorice root, and I would just taper off the amount of water I was drinking. So, these are things that are very fringe, and they're for people who are living a fringe lifestyle. They shouldn't be applied to you. One of the last ones that I want to talk about, and I think is the most applicable to you because diets like this are so popular right now, but reductionist diets, meaning where you remove one specific thing or a group of specific things away from a diet, and then you are eating ad nauseum whatever else is left over. These are a bad idea. That is not how we are not specifically carnivores. We are not herbivores. We're not plant-based. We are omnivores. I have nothing against a plant-based diet or a vegan diet if it's done for spiritual reasons or for political reasons. Even that, for that, I get it and I support it. And there's an incredibly valuable way to do that, and you can be just as ripped and just as buff and perform just as well as anyone who's eating meat. But that doesn't really qualify. What I'm talking about is like you see someone say, "Oh, the carnivore diet's the way to go. Eat nothing but steak. Plant-based is the only way to go because such and such is toxic. So just don't eat meat, don't have any dairy, don't have any animal products, and you will be okay." It's never true. That's never true. Okay? The reduction of any major food group is never going to be your savior when it comes to manipulation of how your body looks. It also is going to lead to deficiencies. I can't tell you how many, including Paul Saladino himself, one of the main cultivators of animal-based eating. I can't tell you how many people go down this route of like, I'm just going to eat meat because it's become very cool recently. And I'm a huge red meat fan. I love the stuff. I'd eat steak for dessert if I had the option. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that people then they go, I'm just going to eat meat. Okay. I heard Jordan Peterson did it. I heard so-and-so did it. You are going to have a crap hormone profile somewhere down the line very soon. It could be a month. It could be 6 months. But in order to have high levels of internal health, your body needs a variety of different macro and micronutrients. I'm not speaking outside of my pay grade. This is verifiable science. Okay. So if you're just eating steak, yes, you're going to lose a lot of weight and you're going to be upping your protein probably. And so things might work out for 2, 3, 4 weeks and you're thinking you're good. Trust me, your testosterone is going to tank. You need to have a certain level of glucose in your body. Your performance is going to tank. You need to be able to push yourself harder and make yourself getting stronger day in and day out at the gym. In your training, whatever it is your performance is based around, you are not going to have the ability to continually get better if you are removing large swaths of what a human should be eating just because you found out that it was cool. If you want to change your diet, find out how much your body needs calorically overall. If you want to lose body fat, be in a slight deficit. If you want to gain muscle mass, be in a slight surplus. You need to up your protein overall. And then after that, make sure you find a good, meaningful balance of fats and carbs that give you micronutrients, things like vitamins and minerals, so that your body can perform and function really, really well internally. And by removing gluten, by removing carbs, by removing plants, by removing meat, that is not going to achieve that. Okay? So that's one thing that I really wanted to point out, that you may see a lot of marketing ploys. You may see a lot of very, very mesmerizing things on social media, especially about someone saying, "Oh, you just got to eat steak and everything's going to work out." It's not necessarily the case. In fact, it's definitely not the case long term. Sustainability has to be something that you apply to your diet and your training. Nothing is people who get a paycheck for it, they're not necessarily worried about sustainability because they're just trying to get to the next contest. They're just trying to get to the next performance, just trying to get to the next whatever it may be. And this includes movie stars, right? The Rock or Henry Cavill or whatever. They're just trying to get to the set and look their best when they're playing Superman or they're playing whatever The Rock does. So you got to take that into consideration. Sustainability has to be something that you look at when it comes to your diet and your training. Is this something that I can do forever? No. Okay, then it's probably not something you should be doing. I understand we all are dealt with these things. You may be getting married. You want to put on your wedding dress and look your best. You have a vacation coming up where you're going to a tropical place. So you want to have your abs pop a little bit more. I get it. So you may tighten it up a little bit here. You're going to do some techniques. I'm talking about overall day in and day out. If you're like, I'm super overweight, I need to lose a lot of weight, I'm going to go on a keto diet. Okay, you're going to probably lose that weight. It's very effective at doing so. But that's not, people can't eat keto forever, nor should they. Again, we're going to get back into hormone profiles and internal health. Okay, so keto and carnivore and paleo and all, it's all not stuff that's going to be applicable to you and your life. In a perfect world, when you're making decisions to do something when it comes to your health and fitness, it should be, I'm making a decision, I'm drawing in the line, a line in the sand today, and from here on out, this is how I'm going to be. Measure everything you do dietarily, habit forming, training wise, measure it that way. And you will absolutely achieve just as amazing a result as anyone else that you're going to be, bumping elbows with. If you make sure that you have the discipline, have the self-awareness to go away from these extreme kind of measures, because it's not sustainable. And this one, I think, mostly goes out to you young men out there. But ladies, if you're interested in kind of physique sports, maybe you want to listen to this too. Bulking. Bulking is stupid. There's no reason under any circumstances where someone should be force feeding themselves to gain lots of weight. Okay. The bodybuilding world has created this idea of bulking. I understand, look, there may be some fringe ideas, but still, to me, unless you're going to be really high level, even this seems dumb, but a lot of high school football players, a lot of college football players, their linebacker, their lineman, whatever it may be, and they're like, I'm 185 pounds. I got to be 205 by next year, or else I'm never going to get drafted. I got to be 220 next year, or else I'm never going to be on varsity. Okay, I get it. I went through that stuff too. It's dumb. Bulking is dumb. Force feeding yourself, purposefully trying to gain substantial amounts of weight is never a good idea, even if you have in your mind, I'm going to put on muscle. All people who bulk get fat. People with amazing genetics and are using tons of anabolic and androgenic compounds can bulk, and they'll put on a sizable amount of muscle and a rather marginal amount of fat, and then they'll take care of that in their dieting phase. That is not a good idea under any circumstances. Even if you're someone who's like, yeah, but I want to be jacked. Fine. Suck it up and go into kind of maintenance-based bulking or maintenance-based growth. That is the only way to go. These ideas of, I'm going to gain 25 pounds in the next couple months. I'm going to gain 50 pounds of muscle this year. No, you're not. No one does. No one does. And even the people who have, like I said, these God-tier genetics and the drugs, they're gaining 10, 15 pounds of muscle in a year. It's just that their proportions are so amazing and they're already so jacked. They're able to diet down, and that looks crazy. You see like the Ronnie or the Jay Cutlers in their prime, and they come back. You're like, he's on stage 20 pounds heavier. So how can you say, yes, he is. Trust me, you're not going to be that person. Everyone who bulks, every normal person who bulks gets fat. And then you're so much farther behind the eight ball than you were to begin with in your quest to be this super awesome alpha male buff guy. All right, so cut out bulking. Maintenance growth is really where you need to be looking. So a slight surplus, if not at maintenance, find that real and have the patience to play the long game. Because gaining a couple pounds of muscle in a year sounds awful to you. Believe me, it's a lot better. If you want to look long-term in your 40s, in your 50s, as one of these guys, these people you see online, and they're like, God, he's always shredded. That guy always looks amazing. Mike O'Hearn, Jeff Cavalier, I don't care. Let's take the drugs out of this stuff. If we're talking about the people who are in their extended age that look amazing, they're not gaining a substantial amount of weight over a short period of time, or even a long period of time. They're staying within a couple pounds of their normal body weight, and they're just trying to refine it over and over and over again. And that the bulk cut cycle also becomes incredibly difficult on your body. And no one, just in the same way that I say everyone who bulks gets fat, everyone who tries to cut, unless you're really patient, smart, and disciplined, loses muscle mass and then becomes a smaller, softer version of themselves. And it's a horrible cycle. So just get rid of that crap. All right. Like, subscribe. It really helps me out. I got to beat these algorithms because they're kicking my ass. Also, I have my ebooks ready for if you're looking to make a change in your physique. A Meathead's Guide to Salvation, my ebook on diet and nutrition. That's for everybody, old, young, man, woman. It is there for you. It's all in my links in all my relevant profiles, whether it be YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You know what I'm talking about. Plus, there is Flex in the City for you ladies out there who want to get told the truth about how to train, because women get fed a line of bullshit all the time. So, Flex in the City for you ladies, plus A Meathead's Guide to Salvation, the best diet book you're going to find for all you people out there in this crazy mixed up world that makes you think that nobody cares. Remember, I do be good.